Welcome everyone across the globe. Whoever is joining for this webinar in whichever time zone you are from, I want to thank you for joining us today for this retail webinar. I hope you are having a wonderful day. We are about to dive into a very interesting topic, which is the future of AI-driven retail supply chain and transportation management. Your presence as individuals adds great value to this session, and I'm thrilled to begin by introducing myself and AI CoreSpot as a company to you. My name is Nitin Naveen. I'm Vice President Innovation Strategy at AI CoreSpot. With nearly couple of decades of expertise in different consulting firms focused on emerging technologies and holding several events, I had the privilege to collaborate with global leaders, stakeholders, gaining insights into their innovative problem-solving approaches. Joining me today are my colleagues. Arvind is there, and the back end we have Naveen, whose dedication has been instrumental in shaping this event. A round of applause for their efforts as well as the whole AI Core Spot team as we kick off this session. Let me take a moment to introduce our company, AI Core Spot. Established more than 5 years ago, AI Core Spot serves as a hub of knowledge, specializing in different emerging technologies like AI, Gen AI, machine learning, robotics, IoT, and much more. Our webinars aim to present the latest advancements in technologies while exploring diverse industry themes every month, steadily growing our reach. Our mission is to nurture a global AI-centric community where like-minded individuals can collaborate and share knowledge. We organize webinars, hybrid events, in-person events, backed up by credible insights from industry experts, thought leaders, and amazing partners. Additionally, we create enriching digital content such as blogs, videos, newsletters, podcasts to keep you informed about the industry's rapid evolution. For today's webinar, we are tackling a fascinating topic, as I said earlier, which is AI in motion driving retail transportation forward. Our speakers will delve into pivotal aspects like AI strategy, value architecture, ROI, future outlook, and so on. The panel promises in-depth insights and engaging discussions that are not to be missed. Before we dive deeper, let's highlight a few key points for today. Today's webinar wouldn't have been possible without our community partners, so special thanks to Empirics Health and InfoVision for their significant contributions in making this event successful. A heartfelt thanks goes to all our attendees for taking the time to join us. Your participation is invaluable, and we hope you leave with actionable insights and meaningful connections. At AI Core Spot, our ultimate goal is to help you gain knowledge, build relationships, spark innovation. If you walk away with new ideas or lasting connections today, we'll consider it a great event from our side. Now, let me introduce our esteemed speakers for today. Our first speaker is Ravi, who is CISO and Head of Infrastructure at Empirics Health. Our second speaker is Samir, who is Data and AI Leader. Our third speaker and moderator for today's webinar is Monica, she is Director Retail at InfoVision. Please note the views expressed by all our speakers are their own and do not necessarily represent their respective organizations. With now, I'll pass the stage to Monica and kick off this engaging panel discussion. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Nitin. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. And I'm excited to be moderating the session, The Future of AI-Driven Supply Chain and Transportation Management. It sounds like a mouthful, doesn't it? But I think transportation is a critical driver, and supply chain is going through a lot of changes, and retail leaders in supply chain are looking for direction, and I'm hoping this webinar and our discussion with our distinguished panelists helps. So I wanted to, I don't want to waste time. I will get into introductions. Ravi Tattavarthi from Empirics Health, and followed by Samir Nandan from Zoom. Go ahead, Ravi.
Hello, everyone. It's a privilege to be here, and I've been in the industry 25 plus years, and AI is, I don't think it's no longer a nice to have in the industry we are in. I think from forecasting to continuous prediction, supply chain, mainly in the retail industry, and inventory management are critical functions which AI can be leveraged. Not everyone is there yet, but everyone is trying to utilize the existing tool set. And utilize AI based on their vendors and their partners, enabling AI from more predictive forecasting and leveraging data. And this all depends upon, I think I always say this, I think I always said this to Monica too. AI is a bigger data problem. If you have a clean data, and if you have data good enough to have good predictions and conclusions can be drawn, and that will be the best asset an organization can have. So I have so many things I wanted to talk. I'll give someone else a chance here.
Yeah. This was just the introduction. Samir, over to you.
Hey
Thank
everyone,
you for
this is Samir Bhavani Batla, and I recently joined Zoom just like less than a week, and as a senior manager of data there, and I'm based off LA, and I've been in working on data for almost 20 years on different facets of data, and I enjoy working on it. And as Ravi was saying, right, it's a data problem. I totally echo with it, and I have some insights to share coming from a data point of view, and I'm looking forward to, engage in this panel.
Thank you, Samir. I think both of you echo the same thing. AI is reshaping supply chain from the inside out. How we plan, how we move the goods, how we respond to disruption, everything is being revamped. Whether it is because of margin pressure or global disruption, sustainability goals, customers expecting, everything right now, right there. It is no longer an isolated automation. It is becoming an intelligence layer, for whether it is for demand forecasting, inventory optimization. I think, it is becoming the base for dynamic personalization and predicting delays even before it happen and improving the last mile delivery performance. Today's discussion will focus on how AI is transforming the transportation segment and the supply chain, and what retail leaders should be preparing for next. That is somewhat the context I wanted to prepare. And with that, I want to segue into my first question. Ravi, from your perspective, how is AI reshaping the supply chain and transportation strategy today? And what are the challenges that you see in getting it adopted within organizations?
Thank you for that question. I think forecasting and all these critical elements in the retail industry and the inventory management, the forecasting and transportation optimization. If you wanted to take you back a little bit on how the behind the scenes retail industry works, we always have a predictive analytics and we demand forecast and try to get the supply as needed to the respective retail offices and retail footprints. But that is, instead of doing a demand forecasting, the industry is slowly shifting, always on predictions. So many places, like we don't want you to share the company names, but one of the biggest wholesale chain I worked, we used to have inventory management and forecasting in such a way that we don't keep the inventory for long, and when the supply comes in, we ship it to the store, the wholesale stores, and that is based on just a forecasting and demand based on what used to happen. And at that time, it is, think of it this way, just one step into predicting future based on the past. And during last 5 to 10 years, every industry has morphed into, let's try to get a data lakehouse and get a clean data, and in a way that this data lake can be consumed by a lot of applications. And now that data is being reformatted in a way that AI can consume it intelligently. And with that, the outcomes are always on predictions. And instead of static or updating daily, the real-time rerouting and dynamic carrier selection, and I think smarter load consolidation too. Like you see this in Amazon every single day. You already have 2 other orders. You want to consolidate these 3 or 4 orders onto one less carbon emission day kind of a thing. So all these things behind the scenes are happening, and every organization is at different stages in this adaptation.
Okay. Okay. Um, I thank you for that, Ravi. That's helpful. I'm going to ask Samir to add his thoughts on this.
Yeah, sure. So, if you look at the supply chain, right, a lot of people look at it as a monolithic process, right? In my point of view, you need to break it down, coming it down to the first principle thinking, starting from the order placement all the way to the fulfillment, right? You just need to break down the entire process into the pieces and then apply your hat of, okay, how can I leverage, a bottleneck and how can I actually solve a specific bottleneck of the problem by looking into that small isolated like an area where we are losing the most value there. So in a way that, we are definitely improving the cost and also providing the value to the customer as well.
Okay. What are some of the challenges you feel, that around this, like while adopting that? I know Ravi mentioned something from a data perspective, but what you have seen from your experience.
Yeah, I mean, data is the byproduct of process. So the people who are in charge of the supply chain, as I said, like they need to break it down and understand, does this process make sense? If this process
Yeah.
makes sense, the data as a byproduct makes sense, then you can apply the intelligence on top of it. So they need to like, the leaders should be sitting in, putting their like thinking hats on and say that, okay, is this process cohesive enough? That is like in handshaking with the following process or the prior process, and look at it in that angle and say that, okay, what is it that I can bring the efficiency on that can actually smoothen the process in a way that will eventually generate the right byproduct. I always emphasize in the past companies, even at now, right, that you need to think in the lens of data. Anything that you're like doing, see how you can generate the right data there so that you can further derive the insights out of it.
Okay. Yes,
Mhm.
data is king. Yeah. I will segue to the next question from a transportation. As mentioned earlier, transportation is one of the largest cost drivers within the retail supply chain. Where do traditional TMS solutions fall short? How does AI close this gap, or what kind of solutions from AI close this gap? Ravi, if you want to take this first.
Yeah, I think it's mainly autonomous decision making. And whenever you look at the warehouse or the shipping stations behind the scenes in the retail industry, some places have inventory management, keep the inventory, get the supply, and then ship it later. There are very important. I worked in a wholesale versus also seen as retail. We did do it in two different ways. In the wholesale, we have all the 9500 bays. The orders come in the full. The shipments come in, and it's immediately without waiting more than 2 hours. The respective crates or whatever you call them get it into shipped into a different bay. Bay one, you have toilet paper, and bay two, you are getting a shipment from Kimberly Clark on toothpaste and the groceries. And bay three, you have a truck coming for the food perishables. So all these things are marked. These certain things are going into all the East Coast zones because last time we filled them is like 1 week earlier. Dissecting that, those decisions are just again based on the previous demand, nothing real time. And now this is because of the intelligence we are doing in the AI. And think of it this way: the today's situations are very unpredictable in the global market and in the local market. If you have some closures or some holidays or some issues in the political arena, certain stores are not seeing that much amount of traffic. So relate what that means is, if you just go by what you have predicted based on last month, the same Monday, first month, first week, the predictions are wrong and the stores don't have space to keep the inventory. And dynamically, we are able to reroute using AI. In from this, we don't need to go this way because we just did it last month, and this East Coast had seen a Patriots Day vacation, so the things and inventory are not at the same level, or we wanted to and resupply them. Instead, why don't you divide to the Midwest? So those are the dynamic decisions we are able to make. And the second point is previously, when there is a significant demand online, there used to be a inventory gap in the local stores and
Right.
the vice versa. So what we used to do, the inventory management, we used to keep inventory separate, and at any cost, let's not disturb what is going to the stores. And at the same time, we have a dedicated inventory for online based on which industry you're in, whom you're giving preference to. Now you don't need that. If you can more intelligently predict an online demand and intelligently predict a store demand, we can have one total inventory asset and fetch directly from both the inventories at one single. It is so much significantly easier in the distribution centers because we are managing the whole set into one inventory model.
Okay. Yes, yes. I do see that, the traditional ones had that inventory cap and, based on location, there was only certain items available because of the previous whatever history. But now, based on the way a person is browsing, you're able to reroute some of the inventory to the location, which which I find that fascinating that you can do it in such real time that you can deliver it tomorrow based on a person's history of browsing, and then most of the
And
things
then
are happening online now.
the biggest catch in this is every organization is trying to do this, and some are successful partially, some are
Mhm.
failing. The reason being, you need to have good data behind the scenes. Without good
Okay.
data, and like think of personalization, we have been in the personalization industry from 10 plus years. The omni-channel, we call it, the mobile app, the in-store experience, and the on the top of the mobile app and the website. These three experiences we combined and we said omni-channel experience. If the data and the predictions and based on personalizations, based that used to be static. Based on today's activity, we put them in the lake house and someone did the analysis. When Ravi comes to our website, let's show this. That's more static. Now with AI, the retail industry is trying to morph into more dynamic prediction, meaning when you're on the website, when you're losing interest and you're going into switching into different places, we are able to show the the products which will generate more interest. And if I am always a coupons guy, give me the dynamic coupons electronically. Not everyone is able to do that because you need to have data supporting it, which can understand your real interests. So it will mature, but the most beneficial industry in the entire organization in the corporate world is retail because of AI.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah.
Samir, I would like to hear your thought, on
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. Yeah, I think Ravi was spot on in many ways, actually. And what I would like to also add is a lot of the technology behind, let's say, supply chain or inventory management or the warehouse management, right? They're all like many years behind. They're not upgraded and updated as fast as the
Legacy.
industry is moving. So that is a big bottleneck. And somewhere I read that even what is it? The core banking system, the routing, the payment routing, and everything is still running on some COBOL software, in an IBM frame. So like that, there are like so many legacy systems in place, and they are in place because they're working fine and they're not scalable. They are not ready for the new world. So those are like some of the pain points we need to look at and see. Okay, how can I modify the existing flow process systems or whatever you want to call it to ensure it can actually scale up or down and the dynamic nature of the rerouting as needed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Samir. I mean, I'm going to switch the order next bit. The next question is for you, Samir.
Yeah.
We talked about, the challenges. We talked about AI adoption. Now we'll talk about how you get the board to agree. So how do you communicate the AI value to the board? Like, whether it is cost or resilience or speed or all. I mean, what is the, advantage that you show to the board that, they're willing to, because there is an initial spend that companies have to take.
Absolutely. Great question. So, I mean, a lot of places and scenarios, providing the value or ROI is the key thing there, right? So, I don't see logistics or supply chain as as an inventory or a logistics problem, but it's about the customer experience. If you look at it, if a carton is being shipped to a store, right? The what it is carrying is not just goods, but the promise or commitment that we are giving to the customer, right? In my point of view, the promise clock from a customer to a customer starts as soon as the customer clicked order, a store clicked, fulfill this specific inventory. So the promise value and the commitment that we provide to the customers is super critical. And if we can actually show to the board and say that if we don't improve this specific process or this specific invest in this specific technology, then it's going to impact this much LTV of the customer. It's a marketing leak as well. We spend like hundreds of dollars in acquiring customers, but if we don't leverage and groom them in an organic way, providing a good customer experience, they're going to fall. You're just like pumping in money on the marketing side, and if you're not retaining customers, it's just a waste of money. So how can you bring that into the entire process and think that logistics is not just the moving the inventory problem, but it also is a customer experience problem? Then you think in a different way.
Okay, yeah. I like that focus. It's based on customer, whether it is cost driven or resilience or speed driven. If the customer, gets his delivery on time or, before time with his uh, goods, I think, you're successful. I think you use that as a driver within the organization. Thank you. Ravi, for you, your take on this.
And at Rite Aid, we formed something called an AI innovation group. And when I approached my CEO and said, want to form this AI innovation group, he said, are you sure you're the chief security officer? I thought you'd form an AI governance group. So partnered with the chief pharmacy officer, partnered with the chief operations officer, CFO, and everyone, and sent a survey to the employees. What is the highest problem and the biggest pain point you have? Repetitive, gave some examples on what our definition of problem is. Repetitive can be easily offloaded, not intelligent driven, more like a commoditized work, but at the same time, you needed to be always there to make an intelligent decision. So we were able to come up with certain use cases with the employee survey. First, we said that you guys believe in AI. Do you think AI can be augmented to help us out instead of you believe that it's a job replacement? And everyone said, and okay. So then we took that to the board and said, we are not going to say anything, but these are all the initiatives. One, we needed to do for pharmacy. On the legal side, we needed to look at the contracts and see which contracts are having the proper updated terms for the PHI. And all the 2000 contracts we have, instead of James doing this, I can have a AI tool do it in like less than like half an hour or 1 hour. And providing these ROI use cases for individual areas, and a lot of AI tools nowadays, at least with the Microsoft Suite and everything, and also Google Suite, if you have an enterprise license, those are all for free. Generating initial use cases and say, these are the 5 use cases. These are all the 5 for back office functions. These are all the 5 for front customer facing functions. And this is going to generate this ROI. And let business owners champion this instead of a CISO or a data person champion it, because people never get it. They think it's mainly a cost center. So instead of me fighting the battle, I will go to my chief pharmacy officer and say, in order for a pharmacist looking at the desk and making sure there are side effects to a particular drug when giving the prescription, let AI do this for you, but you will always have an ultimate decision making. And my chief pharmacy officer say, go ahead, Ravi, when you can deploy this and how much it costs for you. And I'll build a use case for her and let her present to the board, and I'll be a silent spectator and get it implemented. So it's a win-win for the organization. It needs to be played the right way.
Okay. Yeah, and that brings me to the other thing, like, and that's a great approach, right? Like, this is more democratic, you get the organization also believe that there is some value in adopting AI. But there are a lot of trust and governance issues. And especially as a CISO, I'm sure you had these concerns. How did an AI architecture, for the supply chain thing look like? I know you had to use legacy, and how did you, what do you say, address those potential challenges from, trust or, governance perspective? How did you address them?
It's mainly, I've been in the CISO industry at least 5 times CISO in the sixth company right now. Had 200 plus team members, and also in the interim, I led infrastructure and the enterprise architecture I did. The important goal is educating what AI is and what AI is not. If in the very early stages when AI came in, people were worried because it's not respecting the access permissions of a user who is executing on. If you're logging into a system and doing a query on a particular data point, search what we needed to do, search my documents and get me which document has this representation if I'm making a hypothetical search. As long as the search validates and respects the authentication permissions and the access permissions and impersonates my access as a user, I don't have anything to worry about. So educating is number one and the key, and telling them that the first thing I go to the compliance team is say, I want to audit AI. You are bringing in AI. I'm worried about what it's going to do. Nothing. It's a technology and it impersonates the access of the user. And if Monica is typing in a search, it looks for Monica's permissions and make sure those permissions are respected. So whatever you have access by a Windows Explorer search, it will be the same thing you will have access to when you do an AI search. What are you concerned about? What you want to audit? Why you want to audit the commands? Maybe I should understand more. When you start this discussion and educate and lunch and learn sessions and every Friday sessions, the enterprise organization like a 50,000 people, right? It like kind of company, they understand. So we don't need to bulldoze people. We don't need to be defensive. We educate. But there is certain areas where AI needed to have manual intervention and clearly separating what are the use cases which we can benefit, reducing but no need to take that much of a risk, and some use cases which have higher risk, higher benefit needed to be adapted slowly.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you. Samir, you've been a senior data leader. You've architected data strategies for a lot of companies, and still doing them. In your view, from an architecture perspective, how does an AI supply chain architecture look like, and how are trust and governance handled?
Yeah, I think Ravi has great points in terms of how to handle the governance side, and I totally agree. The role-based access is the critical part here, and the guardrails slash restrictions to what is allowed for a person to access should be the the first thing we need to look at, because if we let it loose, right, it can access any other thing. So the person who's designing should think about the security first. That's the bottom line. And then you can think about, okay, I want to use this model, that model, it can be anything, right? So that's the most important thing I start with, and then followed by the cost aspect of different models. I have seen people, just randomly finding some queries and consuming a lot of tokens, right? We need to set some kind of guardrails in how much tokens and the cost associated with the tokens as well, just so that there is that accountability, and people who are using it are not just randomly sending some queries and burning a lot of tokens there. So those are the two things that I would say are more important in coming up with the design architecture. And going back to my previous point, looking at how scalable your existing infrastructure is, and then slowly modularizing and replacing them to be a highly scalable component is important, because if you look at it, AI will eventually become all about orchestration. And you're just like how we have microservices, right? We need to have agents for every single task, and agents the integration. I don't know if you saw this article recently, but the AI is about how we actually manage the integrations between different systems so that the autonomy is there, and the systems can coordinate, orchestrate, and exchange the information well in a way that it doesn't hallucinate. Your decision accuracy is as good as how you handshake, with between agents, right? So building those micro agents or agents as autonomous and as smaller segment as possible, and transfer the orchestration to the next consecutive agent to take the right decision will avoid the hallucination as well. So those are the few things I look at.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Great points. Thank you. Thank you for that, Samir. So, Samir, it takes me in a little tangent, but I will come back to that later. But
Yeah.
what capabilities should retailers start preparing for right now? In terms of AI adoption in supply chain and retail, in terms of transportation management specifically. What are the capabilities of these technologies that retailers? What is the advice you would give?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I worked at Guitar Center before, just so that I know some background on how retail things work at. So there is a lot of friction on the change management, and Ravi's point on education is a critical thing. And of course, there is this fear of people adopting to AI, not adopting to AI, and that is also there. And especially, from what I've seen, a lot of retail people go by their standardized procedures, and sometimes they go by what you call as gut feeling and all those things, right? And people doesn't want to change, and they have built process which are a decade old, and they'll still be sticking to those things, right? So the change management is very critical, and how you approach towards the change management will make it like more adaptable, right? You as you can't just bulldoze and say that hey, I'm building this cool solution. You have to adapt to it, right? And you need to get the buy-in
Yes.
from the people, right? So
Yes.
you need to approach in a way that we empower the users at different levels, all the way from at the bottom level to the top level, right? And show them the value and the power of how they can leverage these tools and technologies in order to make their work more easy. That way there is buy-in, and no matter how cool solution you build, if they don't use it, there is no point, right? It's just cash burnt. Yep.
Right. No, no, valid. I feel like I agree 100%. Ravi, your take. What are the emerging capabilities that retailers should start preparing for right now?
So if it is in retail in general, I will definitely say the shopping experience will be the highest beneficiary of the AI, because the entire industry feeds on going into website, you shop for something and you buy something and need to come in quickly. It all depends upon how quickly, within the number of seconds the user is on your website, can increase your basket size. That's the term we use based on the every industry. And if it is shopping, it's a different story. And if it is grocery and a traditional shopping experience is different. And restaurant ordering is one other aspect. This is the shopping experience and how dynamically we can position the menus based on how you know about the person. Everything is about personalization and data. And going to transportation, definitely, as I was telling you, the bigger problem these days is we are so used to certain types of technologies from Google for traffic patterns, weather disruptions, and everything. And I'm seeing certain tools coming up as an augmenting to this. Okay, even before Google can predict that's it, and there's a traffic route issue. If you take this, will take in order to get the shipment to a New York store, it will take 4 hours. Instead, go this way. There are certain tools, niche tools coming up, and that will be the new future where AI augmented GPS based routing. That will be the number one, I will say. And the bigger problem I'm also seeing is how intelligently within the warehouse. I don't know if you will categorize this in the transportation, but in the warehouse, how intelligently you package stuff so that you don't make to have 2 or 3 trips. And if you can combine an empty truck, because anyway, if it's not a perishable, and you needed to make another trip to the other store Monday anyway, and you have some empty space, those type of intelligent calculations will be a huge game changer, because Extra trip means extra waiting, extra money, paying the drivers and paying the trucks. All these add up. So this is will be really from an ROI and cost standpoint. This will be a huge thing. And I think the third important thing I'm seeing is last mile efficiencies. And when you're in the network space, you always talk about how we can predict the last mile, but when we go into the congested stores and how fast you can unload and get back to the inventory place. I think those predictions using AI, I'm also seeing more efficient routing and efficient planning there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ravi. It's been a great discussion so far. I feel like, in the future, I imagine that I think something and it will be delivered right in front of me without going online also. I feel like there would be some mapping. I'm sure there's some technology working. I've already seen this in a Black Mirror episode, so let's see.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if you have seen this, though, the shopping experience in certain websites is totally morphing. Many of the shopping experiences are changing behind the scenes activities, but there are a few companies who are already changing. And you upload your picture and your shopping experience. You can see how you look in a Macy's dress versus a Target dress versus a
Yes.
Nordstrom dress. All those things you're already seeing, right? So and think of it this way, if you're selling hardware and you're selling a computer and you're selling some gaming stuff, and how a specific ma- taste of you, like a red and a greens, and they're also recently suggesting you buy this computer this way. You also needed to get the similar ambience. If you're a gaming person, buy this seat which is colored this way, and your color room should have these type of wallpaper. Let us know if you want that, help us too. So there is so much expansion happening in that space. So it's coming, and the most I think I'm really excited to see for the retail industry, and I'm more worried to see how this my primary industry, security industry, is going to transform, because the attackers are still using AI, and defenses are not still catching up. And the attacks are not new, the attacks are the same, but they are dynamically able to change the variants and try to see if I see a weakness and my attack is not targeting that weakness, the attack is dynamically changing and based on the weakness, and you don't need to do anything. Previously, oh, this is already defended, I could not try this password. And if I can change the passwords, change the all the dynamic attributes which the attack can be successful, now it's telling you within a 1 hour, these are all the areas of weaknesses, this is how I was able to be successful in attack, instead of 10 or 20 iterations. So this means that hackers having less time to attack an organization, so the CISO should be ready.
CISO should get ready. Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Good point.
What are some realistic timelines? And I'll go for Samir with this. What are some realistic timelines for ROI from any of the AI initiatives that you have adopted? Samir.
Yeah, sure. So I think, and I'm a great proponent of having, like, small solutions built and then, like, scale it up. And I would say within a month or month and a half, you should have that MVP built, and you should see the ROI. That's my philosophy. And then eventually, like, you can expand. And it's about, again, going back to the change management, right? You need to have the right adoption in place as well, and you start small, building small things, and then eventually, like, grow it up. And the roadmap is huge because it can affect everywhere and anywhere. AI and the way we use it can affect anywhere and everywhere. So we should be, like, mindful of where we are deploying and get the right ROI. And in ROI is not just cost, it's time as well, right? Time indirectly comes down to cost as well. So yeah, that's how I would approach it.
Okay. And so you're saying 4 weeks. Is there an example you're able to share? If not specific, please don't share company names, but an example of from
Yeah.
an architecture perspective, what would be a minimal MVP that retailers can see?
Yeah, so I and I want to bring up a solution that was built in one of my past companies where, for the scanning, right? For identifying what is available in the store, the inventory locations itself. We used to, like, do some scanning. Earlier, it used to be one by one, piece by piece, right? Now they brought in some RFC based scanning, and with a single scan, it is able to like identify all of the QR codes and all of the the inventory levels that we have there, which improved that this I think this was rolled out in about 6 weeks of time, this has improved the efficiency of the associate in a store by at least tenfold actually. So
Yeah.
it's not only the time efficiency but the pain point, those are the tasks that no one would enjoy, right? People just want to get it done and move on, right? They want to take care of the other things. So those are the scenarios. Something like this have immediately proved to be a higher ROI.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, Samir. Ravi, your thoughts on terms of timelines to ROI, and if you can share an example.
Yeah, it's anything in the retail directly related to customer, it's impossible to deliver something within 4 weeks. Right? If you're talking about the companies and really making a mark and deploying it into the customers and for an online experience or in internal experience. So I would suggest that in order to win AI, start with the things behind the scenes, the back office functions in an organization. And even though it's a retail organization, like the things like Copilot for Office 365, give it to all the employees and tell them the responsible use, block the remaining AI tools, and meeting minutes, the recording, and the next steps, searching your email automatically. This really gives the momentum for the organization. Okay, wow, I was thinking I was always against AI. And last week, I have my legal team approach me and say, Ravi, I need some help. I have thousands of contracts. I needed to update the terms, how I can do it. And give them like one day, write an AI agent and let them use it. And so one step at a time, back office functions easier to implement, while the front end customer is facing systems, they needed to first fix the data and the cleaning process. Inventory management, smart replenishment, for example, dynamically reordering the stuff based on the unavailability. A lot of things were already going into the automation based on predictive analytics. Now it's taking it to the next step. And all the business aspects incorporating and say, maybe I should not blindly order every Monday for the store in the Boston area because they had holidays, the shopping might be less. Adding this dimension, predictive analytics doesn't have this dimension. This is an intelligent dimension which is giving to the predictive analytics. So those are the type of things I will look into, and inventory management, all the back office functions, even first employee productivity, then second back office functions, and then by the time data is reasonably good enough, and then we can create some wins from a customer standpoint.
Yeah, totally agree,
Thank
Ravi.
you. Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you. I'm just looking in interest of time. I'm just going to ask Nitin or Arvind if there are any questions from the audience before going into my final conclusion.
Yeah, there are three questions, Monica, in the audience section. Yeah, Q&A.
Can you put them up? Where do I?
So first question is by James. So he has asked, for professionals who are just starting to explore AI in supply chains, where should they begin learning or experimenting first?
Yes. Samir, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think it's I just go back to the mindset. Sorry, I may be repeating myself there, but you need to understand what it can and cannot do. AI can and cannot do, and peel the onion and see the layers involved there. And peel the onion and see the layers behind it, just so that you can actually think what is that efficiency that you can bring in, because I can do this with AI, or look at another layer and say I cannot do this with AI. So that's how you should be peeling it and looking at the layers, and then start thinking how you can apply a specific thing. And the good thing is you can experiment here like faster, like you have heard about vibe coding and building solutions faster without even knowing how you can do coding, right? Those are feasible right now. You just need to look at it in layers and understand which part can be improved or cannot be improved with AI.
Okay. The next question, I can see the questions now, was from Kevin, and I'm going to ask Ravi to answer this. And I think both of them are related. For teams that rely heavily on spreadsheets and traditional, what is the first step towards becoming more AI enabled? And there's a question from Archana, which says, what new skills should they focus on to stay relevant in an AI driven environment?
I think it's the first thing is you need to try to see what the problem is rather than I want to use AI where I can start. Right? If you're in an organization and you are in the warehouse management, what is the current vendor we are using for the warehouse management? And to have a discussion with them and say, these are the problems our warehouse management team is having, and how are you solving this using AI? And then start reading through, talk to your IT teams and try to understand if there are any authorized tool set within the organization. And then start experimenting yourself, and based on there are only certain things you can do within the freely available open products which your organization authorizes. Then don't just go with a open AI or a cloud or a specific type of tool just because you like it. Just make sure your enterprise supports it. It's very, very important. And then ask them the resources, because when your enterprise is working at that level, there are resources, training resources, that are available when you have an enterprise agreement, which is not available for an end user. And that's how we started the journey. And if we do it with Microsoft, we had a discussion with Microsoft and we enabled the AI Copilot for Office 360 for everyone. And then we have some access to the training resources. We put it in the intranet. And if your security team has tools like KnowBe4, they have very good, amazing AI where to start with kind of a small documents. Reach out to the training teams. But when you are in an enterprise area, try to solve a problem, try to not invent a problem.
Okay. Yeah, no, great. Thank you. Thank you, Samir and Ravi. I feel like this was a great session. I've taken a lot of notes, and I think that this webinar really highlighted, that AI is a game changer for retail supply chain, and we have to, the companies have to start being on it, but there is a methodical step-by-step. Start with a small, and I liked all the ideas that you had given. It is also driven by customer experience. I think that should be the main driver when you leverage AI, and there should be always guardrails and role-based access. And a lot of great ideas. I think that, anybody who watches the webinar, the retail leaders have some kind of idea where they should spend their energies and budget into. Thank you so much for your time, Ravi and Samir. Nitin, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. And you also greatly moderated this particular panel discussion. So thanks a lot to you as well. And eminent speakers, all of you, Ravi, Samir, we deeply appreciate the invaluable insights shared by all of you, as mentioned by Monica as well. So your willingness to collaborate and impart the knowledge to the wider audience, and I'm sure they have greatly experienced a live thing from this. For those who missed the live session today or wish to revisit the discussion, the recording will be available soon on our company's YouTube channel. Just for your information, the event was also broadcasted live on LinkedIn Live for greater accessibility. Looking ahead, we are excited as AI CoreSpot to explore the latest technological innovations. Our upcoming events will span various sectors. We do in banking, financial services, insurance, telecom, retail, consumer goods, media side, healthcare side, supply chain, manufacturing. So wherever technology is evolving, we are trying to get our webinars, our topics aligned to that. So stay updated with tech news, upcoming events, registration details by visiting our website and follow us on our social media channel. Your engagement is invaluable. Please continue to interact with and share our content within your network. We extend our heartfelt thanks to InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. Discover more about groundbreaking tech solutions, which they do at infovision.com. Thank you once again for your participation and support. We look forward to hosting more insightful sessions. Wishing you a wonderful day, a productive week, and looking forward to see you soon as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nitin. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
this opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah.